Boker Tov, Erev Shabbat Shalom. Continuing where we left off in Melachot Shabbat, Hilchot Bishul, from Maaseh Shabbat, Perek Aleph, page Kaftet. We discussed last time, we introduced the concept of Keli Sheni. Very important principle based on the Gemara. Keli Sheni eno mevashel. What's a Keli Sheni? So again, a Keli Rishon is the primary heat source. An urn, a pot, whatever that the food was cooked in, while it's yatzolerepo, even off the fire, we established that it cooks. So when you have your cholent in a crock pot, even if it's removed from the fire but it's still boiling hot, you can't add spices into it that haven't yet been cooked. That's Keli Rishon. It can still cook so long that it's yatzolerepo. We say Keli Sheni. That's the secondary, the derivative. I pour from the Keli Rishon into the Keli Sheni, either the serving bowl or the cup from the urn. That generally is not mevashel, even if it's yatzolerepo, and therefore it's permitted to put things in it. And we said, except for Keli Bishul items, things that can be cooked easily. So now, what about yad nichvet? What about if your hand will burn? Okay, gam keshechol ma'kli sheni rav beyoter ad sheyat nichvet bo. Even if the Keli Sheni is so hot that your hand will burn from what's in it. Okay, again, Keli Sheni is not from on the fire. The classic example is I have an urn of hot water that I pour into a cup. That cup's a Keli Sheni. If I put my hand in right away, it'll burn. Okay? And hu mevashel. From the letter of the law, according to the Gemara, it does not cook. Lefikach mutar la'arot chalav tzonen letoch kos kafe roteach shehu Keli Sheni. Therefore, you're allowed to pour cold milk in a cup of boiling hot water. If you have to go, don't worry. Boiling hot water on Shabbat is not a problem. Why? Because Keli Sheni eno mevashel. Okay?
What if it does mevashel an item a little bit?
That's a Keli Bishul. We'll get there. Okay?
I think you talked about this before, but if something like on top of the pots on the plato, like Keli Sheni,
it depends how hot it is. If it gets to yatzolerepo, it becomes a Keli Rishon. If it doesn't, then it's not yad Rishon. It's not even a Keli Sheni. It's nothing. Yeah. Once it gets to yatzolerepo, then it becomes a Keli Rishon. Why? We explain this very times. The Beit Yosef writes, "Niralo de'afilu me'ala retichut beKeli Sheni ke'en shaya beKeli Rishon eno mevashel. Dekla galel hu Keli Sheni eno mevashel b'shum panim." Why? Like I spoke outside, the rule is a Keli Sheni cannot cook. Even if it's very hot, the Beit Yosef understands that it can cook no matter what. And why? So we explained based on the Tosfot in Masechet Shabbat Daf Mem Bet. We'll re-clarify that shita again. That the Keli Sheni, it cools off because the walls are cold and the walls can't cook, meaning the walls are cool themselves. Even if at this moment in time it's boiling hot, it won't be boiling hot. And like the language is, because it didn't stand on the fire, it gets colder as time goes on. Even if it's boiling, if it's yatzolerepo now, we assume it can't cook. At that point, I don't care if it's yatzolerepo or even boiling. We establish based on the Gemara that Keli Sheni eno mevashel. וכן הדין, מנהג בני ספרד, להקל בכלי שני אף ביד נכוות. So again, there's regular yatzolerepo. That's 40 degrees Celsius, 45 degrees Celsius, we said. Yad nichvet means your hand will burn. That's much hotter. And according to Rav Ovadia, as he's posek in Yabia Omer, Chelek Zayin, or Chaim Siman Mem, and or Letzion, Perek Lamed Tishva Yud Aleph, that what? If it's boiling hot, even if it's boiling hot in a Keli Sheni, eno mevashel, regular things. Not talking about Keli Bishul, regular things. There's no problem in Bishul, in Keli Sheni, eno mevashel. Okay, it's important to note the Mishnah Berurah and the Chayei Adam are strict, and they say that even in a Keli Sheni that is boiling, you should be machmir and treat it like a Keli Rishon or a quasi Keli Rishon. You don't put things into it. But we follow Rav Ovadia and Rav Yetzirah Bishul. Keli Sheni eno mevashel. Good? So now that we introduced this topic, the immediate question that we're going to talk about for the rest of today is Alenana pelach limon, plach limon. How does that translate to tea leaves, or really nana tea leaf, mint leaves, yeah, and different like skins, and plach limon is like the skin of a lemon. Shabbat shalom. How does it translate? How does it correlate to that? So we introduced the Keli Sheni Mevashel based on the Gemara, based on the Rishonim, based on the Rovadia. We understand that Ashkenazim are machmir. But now, how do we translate that to modern classic dishes?
Can I ask before why are Ashkenazi machmir? How do they learn it?
Because at the end of the day, it's boiling hot. Okay, I understand the Gemara says Enu Mevashel, but it's literally boiling hot. At the bare minimum, it's going to burn my hand a little. You join us. At the bare minimum, it's going to burn my hand a little. We're talking now briefly about a Keli Sheni on Shabbat. You're familiar with Keli Sheni? It's the Keli Sheni is the primary source that we see on the fire. Keli Sheni is a secondary. According to Rav Vadia and Rav Ben Rabba Shaul, a Keli Sheni, even if it's boiling hot still, meaning think of I have an urn that I pour into a cup of hot, a cup. That's a Keli Sheni. It's still boiling hot. I can pour milk into it right away because Keli Sheni and Bishul, even if it's boiling, Ashkenazim are strict. We're not talking about tea. We're talking about Keli Bishul. We're talking about just the principle, the general rule. Good.
What's the difference? Are they allowed to do anything if they're both boiling? If the Keli Sheni is boiling hot?
For Ashkenazim,
no,
I think they're machmir.
It's the same exact thing as Keli
Good question. I have to double check what they do. I don't remember because would they put something that's yavesh in it? I'm not sure. Good question.
Wait for it to cool down and then they do whatever.
Or they put it in Keli Shlishi. There are different shitot how to make tea on Shabbat for Ashkenazim. Very much.
Say, I would guess like Keli Shlishi for sure.
No, according to Mishnah Berurah, maybe if it's still hot, it could still be Mevashel. Some understandings of it, I think it's Mishnah Berurah. Some Achronim say, so long that it's hot, it can be Mevashel. They don't care about the Keli.
Well,
it's a big chumrah.
If we're as far as that, if it's
hot,
able to
exactly. Extend it. We have the principle from the Gemara that says Keli Sheni and Mevashel. Period. And don't bother me. That's Baruch Hashem. They have it also, just they're machmir. Okay, it's the same Gemara. So good. So now we're talking about mint leaves and lemon peels. And we'll wrap up with this for today. I guess next time we'll talk about actual tea. Mutar liten alenana uplach limon letoch kos teshu Keli Sheni ve'en bazen mishum michze kimvashel. You are allowed to put tea leaves again. Nana, mint. Specifically mint, not regular tea, because we'll explain the footnote why. And lemon peels in a Keli Sheni that's boiling hot, and there's no concern of michzek himashel, of it appearing to be cooking. What does this mean? So again, we'll quickly recap what we spoke about. The whole introduction. There's the Mishnah and then the Melechet Shabbat. Kuf Memhem und Bet. It said, Kol Sheba bechamin me'er Shabbat. Shorinoto bechamin beShabbat. And Rashi explained what does it mean Sheba bechamin. Anything that was cooked before Shabbat can be reheated on Shabbat. It's a Mishnah at the end of the Masachet. Very simple. Okay? And if it wasn't, you cannot. You can pour hot water on it on Shabbat. Except for the salty fish and this very small that when you pour onto them, it's cooking. Good? The Tosfot in Melechet Amud Aleph explain. That was the famous Tosfot of what's the difference of Irui versus Keli Rishon, Keli Sheni. Very, very good. And the Tosfot understands it to be that Irui is from a Keli Sheni. V'imken ma area medichin afilu b'shavin nami hakama malam kushni eno mevashel. V'tirtu shnei tirutzin chada afilu b'Keli Sheni and shorin deru v'mam chamin michzik mevashel. Very good. Good. Very good. So they're just discussing the concept of pouring from a Keli Rishon versus the Keli Sheni. The Tosfot understands this Mishnah to mean pouring from a Keli Sheni as opposed to pouring from a Keli Rishon. Okay? So now, ומעתה ליתן אלננה ופלח לימון בתוך כוס תה לכלי שני. Now to extrapolate to tea, to mint leaves and lemon peels into a cup of tea. That's a kli sheni. Mishra sharet mutar. Velo mivaya letirus b'tadei tosfot. We're not concerned about the tosfot. Okay. Okay. אלא אף לתירוצה כמה דעשו ליתן גבר מאכל בכלי שני משום דבס לכם בשל. בכל מקום, הכתבו דליתן תבלין שרה. To put spices is mutar. Simagan Avram that explained that these are like that are like spices. So he explains that in a kli sheni with mint, with tea leaves, it's mutar, and there's no concern of the Tosfot who only permitted pouring from a kli rishon, pouring from a kli sheni. Because what?
They need iroi kli sheni.
Yeah, the Tosfot. When we just read that Mishnah, that Kol Shiva Bechamin, the latter half of the Mishnah is Chutz, the Kol Shilo Bechamin, meaning it wasn't fully cooked. Madichin Oto Bechamin B'Shabbat. Madichin means you can pour hot water on Shabbat. The $1 million question is, what does that mean? Am I pouring from a Kli Rishon or a Kli Sheni? What am I pouring from?
We have.
So Tosfot says it can't be Kli Rishon because it's Mevashal Gedei Klipa. So Tosfot argues that it must be pouring from a Kli Sheni. But there's questions on the Tosfot, and for those reasons, they permit and they explain that it's okay to pour even from that in our scenario that it's in a Kli Sheni already, but we mutar to put and submerge a mint nana in it.
Is it the same as tea?
No, it's not the same as tea. It's not the same as tea. Separate category, but it's getting into the tea topic as well.
We say we can't cook leaves. Is that why? You say leaves are cooked?
It's a good question. Why? I think it's kashe bishul. I think it's very hard to cook. You won't cook in a
Makes sense
cliche.
if it's the same as the peels, and I guess peels are
It's a good question. I have to look into why we print that. Good. We'll wrap up for today. God willing, next time we'll get into pastas and Keli Bishul. Okay, and tea leaves. Good. Hazak Baruch.